Liverpool ended the unbeaten run of Man City after 30-odd games. The first defeat in the Premier League since April. Man City thought they might be able to go unbeaten the whole season, but Liverpool were too much for them. We're going to be reacting and talking about how they did that, how they won that game, because I think we all saw it yesterday, and if other teams in the Premier League can use that blueprint that Klopp has created to beat Man City in the future. But first, as you can see, Red Men TV aren't here today, but Chris was pretty happy yesterday. Let's hear what he had to say about the game.
You got the front three again, you know, Firmino, Mane, Salah, they all score. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain wins the ball back, gets us going. 1-1, it was a little bit nervy because they scored about 5 minutes before half time. We come out second half, and what we did was we gegenpressed them to fuck. It was heavy metal football. That's all you want to see. We just smashed them about a little bit for about 10-15 minutes and just had them off. Basically, we just pulled the pants down and just done them. And it was that simple. That's what Liverpool did for about 15 minutes there. And you know what, at the end of the game and all that type of stuff, people can talk about poor defending all you want. That team was absolutely knackered, because from the very first minute they were all working together to press and harry and just make sure that they were always in Man City's passing lanes. That's the best team in the league there that we've absolutely embarrassed. And yeah, they got close to us because we tired, because we had to work so hard for it. It's not like when you've turned up for games and it's been easy. That Liverpool side fought for everything today, and that was brilliant. No Phil Coutinho, everybody's thinking about that. Virgil van Dijk gets an injury beforehand. Their heads could have dropped, but they never. They put their arms around each other. They looked at each other in the eye and went, we'll do this without Phil Coutinho. He's fucking shite. That's what they've basically said. He's fucking shite. And I know he's not shite, but they have to think like that because they've gone out there and they've proved that without Phil Coutinho, this Liverpool side can still beat the best teams in the league. That Liverpool side fought for each other, fought for the fucking fan base, fought for the manager, and fought for the red shirt and the badge, more importantly, on the red shirt. And as a Liverpool fan, that's all I want to see.
So Chris is pretty happy, understandably. One of the game of the season, did you say that?
Yeah, it was really, really entertaining. As bad as it was for me being Liverpool and City, it was just an enjoyable game from a neutral perspective. Yeah,
and I think what we were hoping for, we spoke about in One for the Weekend on Thursday, we were saying that this is the team that could do it. And we looked at how other teams have played and how teams who had done okay against Man City, not got a win or even a draw in Huddersfield and who else was it?
Palace,
had been able to sort of stop them. But we were hoping that this sort of fighting fire with fire tactic would work for Klopp. And right from the off, it was incredible. It was 100 miles per hour. And even without Coutinho, as Chris said in the video there, the way that they pressed was the most impressive thing.
Yeah, that's what won them the game. Yeah, absolutely. That and just having the pace and power and technical skill. I mean, it's quite a lot actually when you hear it like that. But Coutinho doesn't help them in that game, ironically. You know, it's that kind of that desire and press. It requires so much belief in the system and not necessarily individual skill. That was an amazing team effort. It was incredible from the first minute to the 90th. They did not stop, and they deserved it. It was an incredible game of football. I was really looking forward to it, and it didn't disappoint. Yeah. And yeah, like I say, Liverpool deserved it.
Yeah, we can show you a little picture now of the heat map of the game, and I think this kind of shows this intelligent pressing. Possession stats were 35% to Liverpool. Man City was 65%. But in that heat map, you can see that the centre backs for Man City got quite a lot of time on the ball. So although they worked so hard and the pace of the game was so quick, I think they let those two guys have it, and then out wide, that's where they really put the pressure on. And the other interesting stat that I noticed was that on average, Man City had dispossessed 10 times a game, and that's in games where they're in the final third for most of the game and comfortable. In this game, they were dispossessed 24 times, which is just miles more than double most games that they play. So it shows that people like Andy Robertson, Oxlade-Chamberlain on the other side, and those front three just work so hard, but work so hard in the right areas as well. It's impressive.
As great as Liverpool were, Man City did play into their hands. I mean, because you look at the third and the fourth goals, all came through their own defensive errors. If City had not played around with the ball so much at the back, and negated that first stage of the press, they would have stopped a lot of the good work that Liverpool did. And because they lose the ball high early,
they've been doing that all season, and no one's been able to cope with them. And it was only Liverpool that.
I'm saying, but only Liverpool Liverpool was the only team that you're really going to become unstuck playing that type of football, playing that deep, because they do play. It's like Spurs and Liverpool, the only two teams other than City that really can press so well.
Those mistakes, though, does that come down to
they earn
as
it.
much as it's you earn those mistakes in the last 20 minutes of a game?
They
Yeah,
definitely earn those mistakes and deserve nothing but credit. I mean, taking any credit away from Liverpool, putting the blame on City being a bit sloppy isn't for me. I think that they earn that, they force the mistakes, and it takes a lot of bottle and a lot of minerals to come out and try and fight the City team. Because the easiest thing to do is sit back, try and absorb the pressure, try and keep it as tight as possible, and see what happens. You know, see if one of your players who you know are brilliant can have that moment of magic and try and nick the game that way.
Yeah.
Liverpool didn't do that. They came out, they attacked City, and they deserve nothing but praise for that. It was exceptional.
Liverpool, and I think they're even better than Spurs at doing it, in breaking pace with the football. It is unbelievable to watch them. Certainly yesterday. I know it doesn't always work out. It certainly doesn't work out when you're playing against teams that set up to frustrate and will not come out because there's no room. But with City, obviously they want to play football. They want to play their own way. Guardiola's it's been kind of staunch about that for many years. And Liverpool did brilliantly in exploiting the amount of space they had left. And just to echo your point, Rory, is that they forced those errors. It wasn't a complete meltdown from the City players.
It was incredible. Like in Firmino, Firmino is everything I want Morata to be. He's everything.
Why?
I love the work rate. I love his eye for a goal. I love everything about him. And the way that he took that goal, and I think everybody will focus on the finish because it was a beautiful finish. It was lovely the way he chipped it. It was lovely to watch. But for me, that isn't even the brilliance of that goal. The brilliance of that goal is forcing it to be there and then making sure that when it becomes 50-50 between you and Stones, there's only one winner. That's Didier Drogba in his pomp. That's Didier Drogba bullying the Arsenal back line.
That's crazy.
To play devil's advocate for a second, and I think you know what I'm going to say.
Just Stones to get just like fuck off, mate.
But, so that's,
I mean, that kind of thing. It was incredible. It was like Firmino.
I think you're going a bit over the top here, lads.
Firmino and Stones shouldn't. There should be no contest there. Go on.
Yeah.
Oh well, so that for me, and I won't get hammered for it. Not really bothered. That was a foul. That goal was a foul.
Maybe not. I don't think it was, but I don't even think that's relevant. Firmino putting the pressure on and applying the pressure and making sure that he comes out with the ball is all he can do.
I don't blame him for doing what he's doing, but so this leads me to another point, and another reason why I think Liverpool won the game yesterday. And you kind of, there are games when you're watching it on the telly, you can tell the crowd are having an impact. And I think that in the running that you saw in that Liverpool side, like Robertson at one point, I think there was a good stat on Robertson. He won more tackles 7 and made more clearances than any other player.
I saw a very funny tweet about him. Did you see the one where they said, I seem to get a lot of traction. Something like, I've just seen Robertson. He's chasing the City coach down the M62. Yeah.
But he was possessed at different moments during the game. There was one where he literally just kept pressing along. He ended up on the right wing.
It's infectious as well.
And it is infectious. That's great.
Yeah,
that's great. But I would say that the first goal was a great goal, but them getting the first goal was so important in winning a game. And all of these things, they earned those factors as well as everything else. The Firmino goal, for me, if that's away from home, the ref gives a foul there.
But he shouldn't.
It's not a foul.
He's the wrong side of him and he's pushed it.
No, he's pushed it, but so the problem was Stones' shape. There was 50-50, but Stones' shape was wrong.
Balance,
he was off balance, and so he went flying. But that doesn't make it less
and
than
also,
50-50
Firmino wanted the ball more. Firmino made sure he won it, irrespective of Stones' body position or anything like that. Firmino grafted, fought, came out with the ball, chipped the keeper, knocked it in. Outrageous.
The final thing I would add to this is one. Obviously, Man City got those 3 goals, so showed a bit of spirit. But if you're conceding 4 goals, then you shouldn't be winning.
They did show spirit. They did finish.
How much of a miss was not having Silva in the team?
I think
Is that getting forgotten a little bit?
I mean, you look at they struggled at times with how.
Look at what else they
Look
got.
at their bench though.
Look who else they got.
Not having it. Fair enough.
No,
I just thought about that.
No, it's a fair point because it doesn't matter how good their bench is. Silva is a special kind of player that would be brilliant in that game where you needed someone mercurial to unlock that Liverpool defence. And not that they were great defensively, they weren't. I think the Gundogan goal was horrendous defended. Gundogan.
Yeah.
Gundogan.
No, it's fair.
It was a horrendous.
I liked it though. I like the way he took it.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
beautiful
great.
the way he took.
Yeah.
But you
First,
think,
before the balls even landed, he managed to score. He did
yeah,
with, like,
it was
Jesus
incredible.
stamina.
But if you look at the ball over from, I think it was Aguero, there were 7 players between him and it was a great ball, no doubt. But he took 7 players who were in the box out of the game with that ball.
It's just so electric, that Liverpool front. Like I just have nothing but admiration from it, and it's to do that without. Like, I actually said when Coutinho went to Barcelona, I put something on Twitter and again got like hammered for it. I said that's a great price to get for Coutinho. It's a great price to get for your third best player, meaning obviously Salah and Mane.
Yeah.
And lots of people came, he's their best player, loads of grief. But I looked at yesterday's game and it sort of validated the way I felt about it. I thought Mane's goal was such
amazing.
a good strike.
Oh,
the one from the view from behind, when you just watch it go straight into, like, 2 keepers don't save that. It was incredible. And then Mohamed Salah to have the presence of mind and the audacity to try that shot from just inside an opposition half.
Yeah.
It's just brilliant. It was just brilliant. And you're right, it is a game of the season and it's the performance of the season.
Ironically, I think that Coutinho will be missed in lesser games.
Yeah, it'll be missed when
But
it's
in
tight.
that game, you can see why they didn't really need him to beat City, and that's a bizarre thing to say.
Yeah, I mean, Klopp's won 5 times against Guardiola. It's more than any other manager. I think his style against Guardiola's, it works. It comes off better for Klopp because I think they want to play that way. And with that sort of heavy metal style of football that they talk about. Sorry, I know you hate me, don't you? There's no.
Little bit.
You just put your foot down. You just go. And so there doesn't have to be that same kind of level of control. Whereas Man City sides don't play against teams that do that. No. And so it is a shock.
Yeah.
You know, if you play 3 really difficult games on the trot, by the time you get to the 3rd one, you know what you're in for. Whereas they haven't had that.
Klopp should have. Guardiola should have seen that coming because Liverpool are always going to go for it. And
Guardiola did see that coming, but he was so confident in his own style that he thought, no, we can still beat them.
You have to. I think Guardiola's been exceptional this year, but you have to. I think sometimes your approach to football has to differentiate between teams. If you see a great team coming against you, a team who are going to attack you and going to play the way that Liverpool do, it's probably in your interests to roll the punches a bit.
But this is exactly the point I made at the start of the video, is that Guardiola and Man City should have adapted their style of play a little bit for Liverpool and just avoided playing around with the ball at the back too much. Because had they have done that, had they played it a little bit longer, played out to the full-backs instead of playing to whoever's playing defensive mid, they would not have become unstoppable because they wouldn't have created the right.
He's a prisoner to his ethos, isn't he, sometimes?
And it works 95% of the time, and that's why they were unbeaten in that many games.
There's no issue here. They're going to go on and win the league playing that way of football.
Do you think
they've lost, so let's talk about it.
Do you think they care about the unbeaten record?
Yeah, of course. They desperately wanted that. I wanted it. I wanted them to win. But ultimately, when they're in those positions where they have made a mistake, they're not seeing that they're going to make a mistake that's going to concede a goal. They're seeing opportunities by Liverpool coming out, so they're not going to change their system. Also, you've got to say is that there's not much you can do when Liverpool, the players they have going forward, you can't. It's hard. No tactics are really going to be set up for Mane, Salah and Firmino being absolutely on fire.
Yeah.
I think you have to try and nullify it though, and they do have the players to do that. And I think Sam's right. If you know that they're like that and they're so on fire, don't play there. Don't play in the last third.
But you would, before the game started, you would have set them up exactly how they won every other game.
Yes. Or maybe, I don't know. I would, but I don't know what I'm talking about.
I suppose if you're Guardiola and you're 100% loyal to like your ethic and you know that that's going to win you 95% of your games and the title, then you'll concede that you might lose.
And if you can't show the confidence to go, well, no, hang on a minute, we're the best team in this league. You can deal with us instead of us dealing with you. Then so be it.
Did you see that Man United's unbeaten run last year is actually longer than Manchester City's unbeaten run this year?
Yeah, and in 2010-11, but who's talking about that, eh? Apart from you.
It's about trophies, isn't it, Roy, as you would say. Right, let's move on to the can this be recreated by other teams question. Obviously, Chelsea fan, United fan, Spurs fan.
No.
Can this not be a moment, though? Can this not be a moment where you're going to have these superhuman footballers just running?
No?
It's not. It isn't a blueprint.
No.
It's a blueprint.
It's an anomaly.
It's a blueprint if you have those players.
Yeah.
But hang on, you just said no. But what? Oxlade-Chamberlain, who's been has often been considered a bit of a joke.
No, sorry, not the quality, the type of players they have. They've got more pace up front than any other team, probably in Europe. They're so quick. They're so comfortable running with the ball. It's a blueprint if you have the players. There is.
But should you say right?
Okay, I'll give you an example where that has happened before. Spurs managed to do it at White Hart Lane without Harry Kane when we played Son as a false nine and we pressed in that exact same way in pockets, and it did work. But that wasn't the Man City that we see today. It was a weaker.
James, I see what you're doing, and I respect what you're doing.
This is
but this is so no. It's unreal. It's unreal how passionately I am saying the word no.
Yeah.
So, in saying that, are you saying
the passion in that?
Okay. So in saying that, because I think what you can do is you can tweak the way that you play so that you like Oxlade-Chamberlain he's one of those players he's a bit of a hybrid player. He's not really quick enough to be a right winger. I'm not sure he's good enough to be a central midfielder, but in that position that he played there, it worked. Can other teams take out a Gareth Barry or the slower guys, put in the guys who can just work so hard, and you lose a bit of quality there, but you might have a better chance of winning the ball higher up the pitch and then causing a few problems. You've also got the psychological aspect of them losing a game in that fashion. So if the next team plays that same way, there's going to be those same concerns, or more concerns than there have been previously.
For a press to properly work, it's not something that you can implement in a single game. You have to. That is your
Klopp's style, isn't
Absolutely.
it?
And if you do it every single week in, week out, it will work. But if you try,
fibre to play
if Chelsea tried to play that system, like Pedro's knackered after about 15 minutes. Pedro will have to be subbed.
We did try.
Fair enough. You're thinking, but you're thinking short term there. Do you think that? So my next question is: do you think these other top sides, they need to move towards the way that Klopp sets out his teams, because you guys haven't been able to beat Man City, and there's now an idea that how else do you beat Man City?
We don't have to beat Man City. They're going to win the league. We have to worry about.
What about next year? What about next year?
That is how you beat them. That is how you beat them, unless you get lucky and sit back and pray.
Okay, so we get to August. We get to August. You all want to win the league. There's a team there that the way that you've been playing doesn't work, but the way that Klopp's team has played works. So how are you going to go and win the league if you can't beat Man City?
I think Pochettino would go out with that ethos. He would come out with that.
So can you see your teams changing their squads in terms of the players that they bring in?
Chelsea
players who've got the stamina to do what they
we play a very Italian system. We're never ever going to adopt a high press. That isn't how Chelsea are going to play. Chelsea will have a plan to beat Manchester City when we go to the Etihad. I doubt it will come off, but there will be a plan. But it doesn't have to be the gegenpress. There isn't only one way to beat City. There are other ways of doing it. We did it last year, twice in fact. But
in both games, though, you were quite fortunate, were you not?
3-1 away from home is. I mean, if you're winning 3-1 away from home, regardless of how fortunate you are, you've done well, haven't you? Especially at City.
Yeah. Okay.
But look, there's nothing in this, James. I'm sorry to pop the bubble.
It's fine.
There's nothing in this. City have had an off day. They've also done very well. They've gone away. The other thing to acknowledge is that it not only does it take an awful amount of effort, you have to beat them. You have to score 4 goals. They still scored 3 goals. It's just an off day for City. If you're a City fan, you wake up, you're a little bit disappointed. You're not going to go unbeaten, but you're going to laugh your socks off because you're going to break the points record and you're going to lift the trophy in probably the earliest it's ever been lifted. Probably lift it in late March.
It was great to see Liverpool actually doing it and beating them in the right way, and it wasn't like a stink fest. They went out and they won that with the right way, pressing and being exciting. And it was good to see that Guardiola, with all the money he spent and all of his years of experience of winning trophies, actually to be unpicked. That was quite good to see.
So my final question, bringing it back to Liverpool, as they won that great game, is how much do you take from that victory?
Loads.
Yeah,
loads. That is a season-defining win.
But can you? Will that style of football? You're not going to have that same game for 60% of the games.
It's inspirational that result. That result and that performance is inspirational. They will. If they don't qualify for the Champions League now,
they will.
Yeah, I agree. I think they will.
I think there's suspects about their goalkeeper. They need to fix that, and the defence is still not good enough. But they are so good going forward. Sorry, Sam. But 98% of the games, it won't be a team that's coming out to play them. So they can't play that way against everyone, unfortunately, because it would be an exciting football league if they could.
And that's when you're going to miss Coutinho, isn't it? It's those other games.
Yeah, exactly. When you need somebody to ping one in from 38 yards.
I don't really. I don't really think that Liverpool fans probably learned anything that they didn't already know before that Man City game, other than the fact that they can do it against the top level. But the problems were exposed, that have been exposed all season long. They've got the centre back to hopefully solve them problems as far as Liverpool fans are concerned, and they will spend 40, 50, 60 million on a top draw goalkeeper. And once they've got those two in, if this system still works properly and they've plugged the holes, then they should be competing for the league next year.
Okay, let us know your thoughts on this, on the game itself, on what this means for Liverpool and the rest of the season, and if any other team in the Premier League can do the same. Can they copy Klopp's blueprint? Subscribe to Ball Street, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Check out the Sanchez video that we've done today, and tomorrow, Ask the Club, where we'll be asking Rory about Chelsea's transfer rumours this January. We'll see you soon.